Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming here with a video about the new game that released today, that is Open Country. Now, I was going to buy this game to try it out because of the hunting mechanic in this game, however I was very kindly gifted it by a friend, so thank you so much, you know who you are, that was incredibly kind of you. Now, I've tried this game out for a few hours and I am less than impressed by a lot of mechanics and stuff in the game. I will let the intro play in a moment and we will actually go into some gameplay and talk about some of the mechanics.
Rush hour, the chaos of big city life. I can't even get a breath of fresh air anymore. With some room to move around. Lifeless buildings and skyscrapers everywhere. This is my home for most of the day. My cube. Nothing but cold numbers and paperwork. I feel trapped in a concrete jungle, and it's slowly draining the joy out of my life. I used to be happy and free. Nothing beats the open country, the poetry of the wind crafting a rhyme on every tree and mountain, the applause of the leaves celebrating harmony. I won't find that in here. I'm done with this rat race, wasting my best days sitting at a desk under fluorescent lights swapped in paperwork. I don't know what happens tomorrow, but I do know I have my two hands and the open wilderness. I'm home, the open country.
So that was the intro to Open Country. Quite an interesting choice of basically design there. I actually really liked that sort of comic book style intro. So obviously you have a few different customization options, different skin tones for both male and female, different hair colours and different hairstyles. Not a whole lot of like really in-depth customization, but that's not something I was expecting and not something this game really needs. I'm going to start off by talking about one of my main gripes with the game, which is the fact that it is a pretty much story-driven, kind of mission-based game, it seems. There's not a whole lot of actual survival elements in it compared to what I was expecting. I was more expecting to be just out in the wild, hunting animals, building a cabin, that kind of thing. And maybe I was just kind of, hearing the wrong things about what this game was actually going to be about, but to me, this isn't the sort of game I would choose to play. Like, I just don't enjoy this style of gameplay at all. The mechanics there are really weird. Like, when you go to, like, an edge of a cliff or something, it feels really... I don't know how to say it. It's like you don't have almost, like, proper control. It felt very odd. But you can see here, it's very much just run from point A to point B, and then back to point A to go to point C. And I don't enjoy that kind of gameplay. I prefer, there's maybe an objective, like, I've had played games before where it's like craft your first tools and then, move on and upgrade through there. But I don't really enjoy this. Go to point A, do, like, press one button, turn around, go back to point where you started, and it's just like, okay. And I found that that's a lot of what basically this game is, and especially like the intro stories seem to be particularly not my style. So this is the RV, and you use the RV to basically get from map to map. There is 4 locations, one of which is the starting location, and then like 3 maps. But here you'll see that there's characters, then dialogue between the characters. Like I said, it's very story driven, and it's very much do as you are told sort of game. So if you're like me and you don't really enjoy that, you more prefer games like Call of the Wild or Valheim where it's more open world, do it at your own pace, that kind of thing, then this probably won't be for you. And this is a game that I'm not going to recommend to anyone that likes to play any kind of simulator or anything like that. The next thing I really want to talk about is that this mission I chose to show off is purely because of the RV controls that I'm gonna show. Not RV, the ATV controls that I'm going to show you in a minute, and it is just really bad. So coming off here, I always go to the wrong way when I've tried doing this a few times to get the recording. And yeah, you'll see how kind of weird this is to control. I think it will come across like through the screen. So obviously it gives you what buttons to press and stuff. But can you see the way it sort of oversteers and things? It's like I was barely pressing anything, and it was just so bad to control. Like, I've played games with not the best controls before, but this was really, really, really annoying to control. I really didn't enjoy this. And this, to me, was just such an, just not my style of gameplay at all. Literally, take this little quad, drive around this, for some reason, racetrack that she has here, even though this is an animal rescue centre or sanctuary, from what was being said in the storyline. So it didn't really make any sense. Like, it's just very, I don't know how to say it. Very basic gameplay. Like, perhaps for someone maybe a little bit younger than me would enjoy this, because it's very much, oh, drive around an obstacle course, pick up this, then drive the last bit of the obstacle course and pick up the next bit. Like, there's just no, it wasn't fun for me at all. But you can see here just how much I'm actually struggling with the controls. Now, I was playing on controller, but if you know me, you know all of the games I play, everything, whether it's Red Dead or Call of the Wild, everything like that, I play on controller anyway, so I'm very, very used to a controller and using controller controls. And this just felt really awful to control. I've probably said that several times over, but I cannot stress how much I did not enjoy using the controls throughout the entire game, but especially with this quad bike. And this mission kind of also really highlighted what I wanted to talk about in terms of the missions and them being very handholdy and very much you have to go this direction. And I thought the obstacle course kind of really highlighted that. And then the fact you basically just drive around that obstacle course for no apparent reason to pick up a very small package, and then you go like to a barn, and then you have to have the ATV very close for these things. By the way, I had the ATV parked a little way away, and it actually said that I had to bring it closer. So yeah, this was not what I was expecting from this game at all. Really, this is not the kind of thing I was expecting. But like I said, maybe I was just thinking maybe I had the wrong idea of what this game was supposed to be, but I can see that it could be enjoyable if you enjoy very much story driven things, as this definitely does seem to be what this is about. Um, Graphically, I don't mind the characters and like how they look and stuff, and in cutscenes it looks okay. I'm not like, I don't hate it. However, when you're actually moving around and doing things, I've had problems with the grass and that looking almost like a bit pixelated, I don't know how to describe it. It's just a bit weird and fuzzy. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, that some of the things look a bit fuzzy, and this is at the highest resolution that was available to me. So it's just like certain things already were making me feel a bit not so keen on the game. Now, I was told this was a very much hunting and survival game, and at this point I'd only shot a couple of rabbits. And the hunting mechanics in this game are interesting in and of themselves, as you will see as we move on. The animal models are okay, they're not great. And you'll see as I'm hunting here, and also you can see, I think, there what I mean about the grass looking kind of fuzzy and weird. And there was also, I encountered some weird glitches as well, which I've included. And obviously this has just released today, and there's obviously things that I expect they will intend to fix. But this isn't something I'm going to regularly talk about on the channel, but I thought that this would be an interesting one to cover, especially seeing as it released today, and I know that there's a lot of people that I'm friends with that were really looking forward to this game. Now, one thing I will say is I do like how the gun is carried on your character's back, and the way that the characters look and move through the environment doesn't feel that bad. It's just a bit odd when you step over a ledge or something like that there, and sometimes they jump further forward like this than you would intend them to, and that that can cause damage, sprained ankles, broken legs. So that's a bit unusual. Now, here you'll see I have found a fox just on the path, and it's weird because your gun gets auto-aim for a few seconds, which you probably saw there, and then it just stops. It's literally a split second of auto-aim and then it stops. But looking at it at the actual fox model itself, it doesn't look too bad. That's actually not as bad as I was expecting. So that is a plus. But one weird thing is it seems like all the animals except the rabbits go into holes and then the rabbits go into tree stumps, which is a really odd thing considering you'd think that they would make rabbits go down the holes. So that's a really unusual thing. And then basically all you get to do is just harvest the animal, and that basically just puts meat and a pelt into your inventory. So that's basically all that does. And then if you're over encumbered, you have to drop items. You can see there you have a carry weight. I wasn't really bothered about what I was dropping there because I was basically only playing this at this point to talk about some of the different mechanics. Now, something else I came across that is incredibly weird and really put me off the game is the fact that the ducks are supposed to be really like they're easily spooked and stuff. It says in the one of the tips that you should wear camouflage to hunt them. However, they just fly around in circles and not even always over water. There is some that you can just find, or at least I found, just in the middle of just a bit of woods that they just fly around in these circles and they don't care if you're near them or anything like that. So yeah, that was really weird. The environment doesn't even look that bad when you're looking at it here. The environment is okay, but the animals' behaviour is really, really odd and it's really lacking. Like, I know it's not a hunting game or a hunting sim, but to have ducks just flying around in circles is really, really odd. It just doesn't look good at all. So there is some survival elements that come into it. I guess that, like I said, this doesn't really feel to me like a real survival game. Not something like Valheim, for example, or 7 Days to Die. It just doesn't have that survival feel to me because it's not like you're out in the wilderness on your own. Like, it's very much like you're in connection with other people and stuff all the time. But you do have to build a shelter and keep yourself fed and watered, and that's basically the only sort of survival elements is to keep your character basically not exhausted and fed and watered, and you'll be fine. And injuries that can be sustained. But in terms of actually, I always think of the survival game as trying to progress and stuff throughout and get more, like a better place to live and stuff like that. But it just didn't have that feel to me. And maybe that's just me, but it just didn't have that feel to me. And you can see there the rabbit was going for one of the tree stumps, which is one of the weird things I talked about. So there's a couple of odd things about the game thus far. I actually do like the weather. I think the rain looks really nice, and some of the like environment detail does look really good. You can see here the items that you can pick up for stuff that you can craft, like the count, will sort of highlight in yellow when you put the reticle over it. So that's quite nice. Um, there's a lot of things that are okay and decent about this game, but there's a lot of stuff that I really didn't enjoy. Like, again, I am over encumbered and it didn't seem like I was carrying all that much, really, to start off with. So it's just one of those things. I think maybe as you progress, like I said, that maybe you get more inventory space. But I just, at this point, was already feeling not impressed. I encountered a few issues, including the character getting stuck on terrain detail, like if there was a branch or a log that you could pick up and you couldn't see it because of long grass, and then you stepped on it, that you would actually get stuck on it, which was odd. But you can see here, when you start to get dehydrated, the screen starts to go in and out of focus, which was really annoying when trying to then find a water source. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. But yeah, like I said, it's an okay game. I wouldn't recommend this to a lot of people. It's not something I will be playing like a lot or even continuously. I don't expect to play this for much more time at all, really, because it just doesn't have any of the real elements that I like. You can see there's an armadillo going in there and burrowing into the terrain, so that was quite cool. Yeah, like here the trees and that, they just look really, really, really nice. Which I feel like, in a way, that this game has a lot of good elements, but kind of lost direction on what exactly it wanted to be, whether it wanted to be a hunting game, whether it wanted to be a survival game. Because there's there's certain elements of it that are quite cool, and certain elements of it where I feel that they just lost perhaps kind of track of what they wanted, like making it open world sort of survival type, and then making it very story driven, where you go around and drive an ATV around a little kind of course. But this was cool. This was an interaction with actually some of the predators in the game, which will attack you. Now, I had encountered a puma, and that did hurt me before, and that was quite interesting. The puma did actually kill me, but you can see here I'm actually struggling to take down these wolves. They don't go down in one shot, and with that weird auto aim thing where it auto aims for a second and then unauto aims, it makes it very hard to actually get your aim right. It would almost be better if they just chose whether it was going to be auto aim or not auto aim at all, because yeah, it just felt just very odd on how that actually works. I do like the fact that you sort of aim down the sights properly, but yet again, encumbered. I was always encumbered after seemingly everything. And the character kept doing that weird thing where her jaw was like off to one side, but that's a fairly minor thing, I feel, in terms of what this game is. Like I said, it's really not my kind of game. Maybe I'm just not the right person for it, but I've heard that I'm not the only one who feels this way about this game. It just feels like it's, like I said, it kind of feels like it's lost. It doesn't have that direction. But here you can see your health. You can see that I actually have a laceration because of those wolves, and then I could use the bandages to heal myself. So, moving on and starting to actually try and progress here, I want to show the tracks, which are little glowing particles, and then you get like a blue smoke trail showing you which direction the animal actually went in. And that wasn't actually that bad. I thought that that was quite a cool tracking mechanic. That was pretty fun. But it was the actual mission that I was trying to do here to harvest that elk was extremely odd. Um, I the it just is something that, to me, a game when it comes out should at least have the first few missions working correctly. And this was what, the fifth, sixth mission? I don't even know at this point. And all of the animals bugged out, and there was an elk levitating in midair, and all kinds of weird stuff that you'll see in a moment. But you can see here that once you have all of the materials you need to craft something, you just go to the bushcraft section and craft it. And basically this is a little camp that you can make, and this is where you can save, you can rest here, and you can use the campfire if you have the right materials to actually start a fire, which allows you to cook, and that obviously is good for your food level. Now, the weird thing that I had was, you can see you have a temperature gauge, a food gauge, a water gauge, but then that gauge at the bottom I couldn't find like an explanation for it. It seemed to be to do with your energy and resting levels, but when I went to rest, it said that some of my needs weren't filled, and I would have thought that that would override, considering resting should fill the need bar. And it did allow me to rest for a couple of hours, and then that bar actually did fill a small amount. So that was really odd, but you can see here resources needed for improvised tinder, and then you can go and collect the resources that you need for that specific thing that you want to craft. So now moving on to that mission where you have to harvest the bull elk that I was talking about. Now, from actually trying this a few times over, I knew that the bull should appear in this clearing, and you can see a couple of the cows down there. And it didn't look too bad from this angle, and they seem to be working correctly. But I don't know what actually happens that caused them to bug out. But I won't talk all the way through this section. I thought that I would just leave it so you can see what the gameplay is actually like, and then towards the end of the mission I will start talking again. So you'll be able to see the tracking here and how you're actually supposed to follow the animals, which is actually, like I said, I quite like the tracking system in this. That is something that is quite cool, and I do like that aiming down the sights like that. I think that looks cool. But you can see that elk that's led down, that's the one that's levitating in midair, and you'll see that in a minute. But as soon as the bull elk came into the clearing, it did actually tell me that that was part of the mission and to harvest that elk. But even though I was moving around like as pretty much as like crouched down as you can be, it still spooks them. So this is a bit of an interesting section for, I think, you guys to watch. So yeah, I hope you enjoy watching this.
think I heard something. I think I spooked them away. I think I heard them. I think I spooked them away. I should move silently. I think I spooked them away. I think I heard something. I think I spooked them away. I think I heard them. I think I spooked them away.
So you can see here the game has clearly bugged out because the character keeps saying that she thinks she spooked them away, but those cow elk clearly aren't moving and the one is still levitating in midair. And I couldn't see the bull, and I wasn't sure if the bull had actually moved off and this was something that was part of the game. But it became very clear, like as I started to move around, that these were just completely bugged in place, which was just really odd. And like I said, this isn't not very far in at all. I barely played this, and this was one of the initial missions, so it doesn't say a whole lot about how well the game is actually gonna play throughout. But you can see the bull there at the back, and I was like, yeah, okay, these guys are completely stuck. The models, like I said, they're not terrible. They're not the worst animal models I've ever seen, but they're certainly not the best. and trying to aim with that reticle was, like I said, it was just really, really difficult. And I didn't want to actually stand up and just full on run at the ball in case the mission messed up, because I had actually tried to do this mission several times, and the ball kept spooking, and then I couldn't find tracks, and then I got mauled by a cougar at one point that I couldn't kill despite three shots, I think, to the head. So I don't even know what happened there, but eventually I just came over to the ball, and I gave up trying to aim for the head because I actually shot at a deer earlier on, and I went for a long shot thinking, okay, that's probably the best shot to go for, probably thinking too much into Call of the Wild, and it didn't die, and I couldn't find any tracks for it. And I thought with this I'd just try and get a headshot, but it just, you can see it just wouldn't stop swaying, even while pressing the stick down, thumbstick down. It just wouldn't stop swaying, and you can see there that the actual carcass clips straight through the ground. So that was really, really weird. And you can see there the elk levitating in midair is still just chilling. And I actually went over to shoot that just to see if that would unbug it, but it didn't. It just died. So like I said, it didn't give me any more confidence in this game, and it just didn't feel good to play. It just felt very monotonous. Go do this. You've been told to do it. The animal will be there. It's a mission animal. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy that aspect of the gameplay. So that's my first thoughts basically on Open Country. It's a game that I probably won't continue to play. I might look at it and see if they improve things with updates in the future, but if I was going to give it a rating out of 10 at the minute, it's probably a 3 or a 4 out of 10. It's not a game I would recommend, and it's a game that I'm fairly disappointed in with basically the quality of it. I'm really just not that impressed. I think they had a very good concept going here. A hunting open world type survival game would have been a really, really awesome game and something that I would really enjoy playing, but I think they've overdone it with the hand-holding style missions, and basically it doesn't feel like there's any point to actually going out and sort of trying to survive in the world on your own. There's nothing really that you can sort of progress and get better and better at, or, you know, nothing you can succeed to go and maybe get a better gun to take down high level animals or something like that. So that's my thoughts on the game. Please let me know down in the comments what you think of it if you have played it. I'd be really interested to hear your guys' thoughts. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed.